All right, everybody, welcome back. The Overwatch Collective podcast, season 9, episode 8, here with Thomas. I'm excited to have you on. I know it's been a little while. So Thomas is a prior United States Navy SEAL, 9 years, 6 months in the United States Navy after getting discharged with some drug use issues, which we're going to talk about. And then following that, how he is gone back to school and now helping out our community and doing presentations, etc. So, Tom, appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this too. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sweet. Yeah, no, of course. Really quick, mention two things, our therapy statistic updates. So, as of now, September 10, 2025, which is Suicide Awareness Day and Suicide Prevention Month, excited to announce that we're almost at the $300,000 mark spent on therapy costs for our first responder and veteran community. We're at $299,708 spent on therapy costs. 275 people in our community have gone through our organization to get connected to our therapists across the country while maintaining complete confidentiality. 2,939 therapy sessions either fully covered or financially assisted, which is amazing. And then the last thing is Rust and Iron Clothing Company, an active firefighter. We're partnering up with them. Percentage of the proceeds from the organization come back to our amazing nonprofit in order to fund more therapy sessions for our community. That wraps up all the admin stuff. Tom, give us a little intro of yourself. Tell us where you grew up and what brought you into the United States Navy.
Yeah, Northern California, Bay Area, San Francisco was a normal childhood. My parents were, the whole family was alcoholic. The kids were drug addicts, but we loved each other. And we probably, you know what, it was one of those things that I'd like to, no, I don't. There was nothing that I can point at and say, this is the reason. It was just life. It's how it unfolded. It's for us, the family, it's, it's in the genes. So I started use at 14. I was asked to leave the house of my father at 18 because I was getting high with a brother. I went into the military because it was the only honorable thing that I could do. And this was 1978, which was 3 years after the end of Vietnam, and nobody wanted to go in the military. So I had carte blanche. I walked into the recruiter and he gave me everything I asked for. I wanted to be a hospital corpsman and I wanted to see the world. And we got that. I ended up in boot camp finding out that in the third week, you can take a screening test to become a Navy SEAL, which at that point, I had no idea what that was. I saw a picture of a cargo net, 50-foot cargo net, and I wanted to go climb it. That's what I went to go and do. Being, I didn't have any clue until I got there. And then it was like, oh my goodness. Long story short, 6 months later, February 29th, leap year, 1980, I graduate BUDS class 106. And I'm off to a magnificent start. Prior to going there, I went to Balboa Park to become a hospital corpsman. So I ended up at Little Creek, Virginia, UDT 22, starting out a magnificent career. 9 years and 6 months later, remember what I started at 14 with the drug use? Caught up to me. 9 years, 6 months in, I was discharged for drug use because at that point, the military was not taking it anymore. There was no more allowances, zero tolerance, and I was discharged. I was discharged a mess. I had an addiction that was out of hand, and this was the first time to be a civilian. I'm like, what the hell is this? I discharged at 29, shortly thereafter turned 30, and now this is the first time I'm in a civilian world that makes no sense to me. Yeah. With a severe addiction. So I ended up going to a 90-day recovery facility, and that 90 days gave me a break. For the first time in 15 years, I went 90 days without substance, but the problem was I didn't know how to live life. Project 90 that I went to is a 12-step program. I did the 12 steps and they didn't work because I didn't work them the correct way. I saw that at about a year, I was going to use again. And this was the first time I'd had a fear that I had never experienced before. This was a fear of failure that had a severe price to it. I was either going to die, end up in jail, or, short thereof in one of those two places. So I decided that I needed to see it, because what it is I couldn't feel it. I couldn't remember it. I couldn't see it. So I put myself in the environment. I took an overnight job as an adolescent recovery facility as an overnight counselor. And for 4 years, I watched, I listened, and I learned. And I was given a gift by young people on how to live life by their teachings. At the end of the 4 years, I had no education. The military spent a lot of money on me for a job that had no equivalent in the civilian world. So I left under very good terms and took a job as a unit director at a Boys and Girls Club. The adolescent recovery facility, Daytop Village, was 13 to 17-year-olds, Boys and Girls Clubs, 6 to 18-year-olds. In that 8-year period, I was graced by the most awesome teachers I have ever had, and that is all those kids. They taught me, I think the key element was, if you're going to work with kids, you have to be able to play, and you can't play as an adult. You have to play as a kid. So they taught me how to play as a kid, and that I've taken with me to this day.
Awesome.
And at the end of that 8-year period, I was now clean and sober 8 years. I had done the steps. I was successful in my career path. But I had young folks coming and telling me things from their life that I hadn't experienced in mine. They were telling me things that I didn't have answers for, and I didn't even know what to do with. And I found that unacceptable. I was like, I didn't want to go back to school because I was arrogant. I'm a rootin', tootin', shooting, looting, parachuting, I'm double cap crimping frog, man. I don't need no education. I don't need no. Well, you know what? Humility says, shut up, go do the time, get the information, and then tell me whether it's warranted or not. And the end result was magnificent, because it gave me the gift of knowledge, and it gave me the understanding of humility to say, no, I don't have all the answers, and that education is something that I have pursued since. So at this point, the career now moves into learning, and I work child protective services, worked with the developmentally disabled. I worked at a retirement home for veterans, which was really cool. And then I did the prison system, wanted to understand some things about that. And then the job of a lifetime. Military Family Life Consultant is MFLAC. And that was the first time that the military saw the use of clinical by putting clinicians into the command structure. I was set into anywhere in the world except for in war zone, wherever there was active duty and their family. And I spent 7 years getting educated for what war was. My SEAL career, there was no active war. I had been in places that, I sneak and peek, but nothing that, I had nightmares about. I was given that insight by all the returning veterans, male and female, telling me of Afghanistan and Iraq, and had to learn how to alter my clinical skills to address the needs of that group. And so after I was done with MFLAC, I went back to school to become a clinician in eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR. I found that it was phenomenal in addressing PTSD, especially with veterans. So that's the long arc story of my life and how I come sitting before you and sharing.
Got it. Wow, that's a lot to take in, and quite the journey you have been on.
Yes.
So number one, I think it's amazing, and congratulations on being sober and going through the 12-step program. And being where you're at today and helping the youth and having a sense of purpose again, I feel like, and reshaping your identity. I do want to circle back really quick, even to the beginning. What part of the Bay Area?
South San Francisco.
Okay.
San Francisco got the airport. It's San Francisco International, but it's in South San Francisco.
Yeah. So you know where I was born and raised? Millbrae, California.
Okay, you're just past 380, right on the other side of 380.
I was literally just south of 380, and then I was a Daly City police officer for 10 years.
Yeah, Fogtown.
Yeah,
Nice.
Fogtown, and then that Marine Corps unit right by Tamfrain Mall in San Bruno, 2nd Battalion, 23rd Marines Echo Company. That's where I was stationed.
Yeah, you know what? And that's still there. That
Yep.
for the veterans. Yeah,
Yeah, 4th Mardiv.
yeah,
Yeah, very cool. So local. I mean, literally 2 cities away. San Bruno literally divided us.
yes.
So very cool. And so I want to kind of start off asking you a few questions, if that's okay with you. Is
Our way.
prior to your time in the Navy, you said you were already starting to use
Yeah.
illegal drugs and everything. Were you using up until the point you got into the Navy? And like, how did you pass the medical stuff and get through all that? How did that work?
So when I first went in, the morale of the military was non-existent. It was horrible. You know, the Vietnam vets were back, and they were in shambles, and partying was part of the scene. Nobody questioned it. Now, here's the thing: is today they have urinalysis and hair they can do. 1978, there was no way to find it. As long as I did not say I did, they asked, I said, no, I never did that. And I moved on, and there was no way to prove it. I went in under the Carter administration, and when Ronald Reagan came in, that's when it started changing. President Reagan said, none of this. He's the one that went zero tolerance. And it took, 8 years of my career before it caught me.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And so just going in like chronological order here, when you got into the teams, what SEAL team were you on?
Started out with UDT 22, which was SDVs, swimmer delivery vehicles.
Okay.
And that was phenomenal. That early education was, because as it stands, everything that educated me was Vietnam, and they were awesome operators. And as a corpsman, Vietnam era hospital corpsmen have this reputation that is bar none, nothing compares to. They were actual doctors, and all of them were putting their hands on creating me.
Yeah.
So it was, wow.
Gotcha. Okay. And then your time with that, I know you mentioned SEAL Team 1. How long were you on 1 for?
I went from UDT 22 to SEAL Team 2, and then that was East Coast, Little Creek. And then I came West Coast to SEAL Team 1, and I got there and was discharged a year and a half later. So I was discharged 88, so I got there 86.
Got it. Okay. All right. And when did the drugs start kicking back in during your time? How did that fall back into your life while you were an active SEAL?
So as a corpsman, that's the hardest rate to get through the buds and into the teams. So I was constantly deployed. And when you're constantly deployed, you're not under the guise of command. So when you're giving your analysis, you're getting it from command. Well, I was never at command. I was constantly out in the field. And what it came down to is when I shifted from the East Coast to the West Coast, I was again put into Bravo platoon, and we had come back and we were on downtime. And that's when I ended up partying, and I fell asleep, and I woke up 2 days later. And in the military, that's called UA. And you know what? That's unacceptable behavior. And that's where I was the corpsman. I'm the one that you called to get the bottles ready. Well, now I didn't have control over the bottles anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. And so you don't wake up for 2 days, you go unauthorized without leave, right? And then did that start the process of you getting kicked out?
Yeah. And the thing is in the last year at SEAL Team 1, the platoon knew I was in trouble. My behaviors were erratic. And when you're operating with guys, you know who's on and who's off.
Yeah.
And they protected me. They protected me until they couldn't protect me. And at the end, I had no right being there. So it devastated me. I felt betrayed. I felt angry. But in the end, it was nobody's fault but my own.
Yeah.
So.
Got it. Okay. And then, so after getting the discharge and learning that was occurring, right? A big change in identity, getting hit with that. How did you transition back into civilian life?
That was at 18, I left the house because my father threw me out. He said, "You're getting high with your brothers. That's not going to happen. Get out." And I was 18. It was time to move on. And again, like I said, nobody wanted the military, and it was honorable enough that 3 hots and a cot is how I was looking at it.
Yeah.
So the thing with it is I ended up coming back to my father's house 9 years, 6 months later. And he says, "Oh, I see you're back and nothing's changed." He says, "Look, you ain't coming back here unless you address this problem of yours, because it's here still. So you want here, you want to come in? Okay, but you're going to get help." Yeah. So it was tough love. My father said, "Yeah, come on in. I'll give you the couch, but you're going to a program." And five weeks later, I was in a program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good on your father, and obviously nice of him to let you come in and even have a couch, but to do like the fatherly thing, I feel like, where it's like, all right, I'll take care of you, son, and everything, but you got to go get help, and there's no other option there. And how was that process for you, getting the help and going through that program?
And today it's worse. I spent 5 weeks. I went down and I interviewed, and then every Monday you had to call them between the hours of 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock because they wanted to see how much you wanted it. I waited 5 weeks and I was still using, not wanting to use. Life was horrible, but recovery facilities were not, and today it's worse. You got a problem and you want help. Where do you go? So the thing with it is that part for that 5 weeks was difficult. And then the 90 days was the first time in 15 years that I went 90 days without a substance. And that was kind of weird. And I understood that part because 90 days was every day you were being educated on your issue. You weren't there for math and English. You were there for, basic living life as an addict, alcoholic 101. Yeah. And so I understood the concepts, but I didn't understand the key element. Look, we're men, especially alpha males. I don't ask for help. I don't have issues. I don't have problems. There's huge stigma by saying I need help. And I was trapped in that. And then at a year, I'm going to use again, and I know it. And this is not going to turn out pretty. So I humbled myself to not go to therapy. I went to where kids were getting therapy in a 24-hour setting in a 1-year program. And I took the overnight because nobody wants that. I didn't need an education for that. And look, we're trained observers. Everybody in the military is a trained observer. I went and I watched them come to terms with their emotions. I watched them come to terms with what was destroying them. I watched how they had been abused physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually. And I was like, wow. And I was learning. But even at that, I was there for 4 years. And in the first 2 years, I felt like a hypocrite because I was telling them, you need to get it out. Whatever it is that's killing you, you need to share your secrets. You need to share what's killing you. And I wasn't, because I was not going to give that up to another human being. Well, at 2 years, I felt like a fake and a phony, and I'm watching kids do it. And I'm like, if they've got the courage to do it and it's not killing them. As a matter of fact, I'm watching before and after, before what they're all spun so tight, and then they come to terms with that, and then they move on and they're different people. And I want, I finally got to the point where I want some of that. So I found me a sponsor. He was, what was he? 6'8", 350 pounds, United States Marine Corps, as big as the door. And I'm like, that's who I'm going to have as my sponsor, because he's not going to let me escape.
He'll keep me on track.
And he did. And
Yeah.
he didn't force me. He waited for me to share those issues. And he was smart, and he was insightful, and he was kind, and he was badass.
Yeah, good. So let me ask you this. What do you see in our military community back then and then even now, some of the challenges with the stigma, with substance use? Like what goes on in your head when you hear those kind of things?
It's a sad thing, because the fact of the matter is, therapy works.
Yeah.
I mean, in that, I went back to school, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I've got even one more that's called board certified diplomat in clinical social work. So I have all the bells and whistles in order to understand the mentality of those that like me and not like me. I mean, I deal with everybody, and it comes down to making it so, how do you present what somebody sees as a weakness on who they are at the core of their being? And I always come back to, in the military, we were all taught that we've got new systems coming online, and you went to a school to learn how to bring that system online, and then there was a manual that you read. Well, I'm telling you that for our recovery and for your mental health issues, I'm going to give you a manual. I'm going to leave you to read it. I'm going to let you come to terms with it. I'm going to be the rails. So you can't, no, stay inside. No, that's not.
Yeah.
I keep you in, and I let you be your own therapist. And I'm not threatening, because I have a background that they know where I come from. And then they see who I am, not in my words, but in my actions.
Yeah.
And that's the strongest thing that you can ever put out, is be who you want others to like.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's almost like the Army motto, be all you can be, you know?
Yes.
So what does that look like now? So are you going to be seeing veterans primarily? Or are you going to be seeing everybody and trying to help them out? Or what's the next few years kind of looking like?
Yeah, I do the speaking thing, and I shared with you tomorrow in Mountain View at Moffett, there's a barracks, an Army barracks, and I'm going to give a presentation on suicide.
Sweet.
And so I also have a website of all the materials, again, that I've collected, and it's in there because it's a hard one for you to reach out to the therapist. So I started where you can go get the information on a website, and you can see that there, here's the next step. If that's where you want to go, I give you the ability to find the next step. But I also give you the pertinent information for depressions and anxieties and PTSD and all, especially addiction, and how it's all fiddle-farted in there. And so there's a website and speaking engagements, and I still have a private practice, but I work for a company because I don't want to do the billing, and I don't, I do telehealth. It's in my control. I work 2 days and I'm off 5 days. I'm soon to be retired, but never really.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. When, I grew up going to Moffett Field, and that's where I did all my motorcycle training when I was with Daly City PD. And then, we used to go to the commissary, get haircuts, play on the golf course. Yeah, good times at Moffett. When you go there tomorrow, you'll have to mention the Overwatch Collective and local nonprofit funding therapy for veterans and their families. And
I will download that, because I got a little table, and I will, without a doubt, make sure this information finds its way there, because you do the same thing. So it's
and
more
that's
the merrier.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it's the collective, the Overwatch Collective, where it's a team effort to get out there, to do these speaking engagements, to do the podcast, to share the resources. And that's where our motto comes from, is one more is one less, where it's like, if you go tomorrow, Tom, to do this speaking engagement, and if that helps one person in the audience, and he or she benefits from that, and then seeks resources, whether it's a week from now, a month, or a year, then that's a win, right? We just got another person that's able to be like, hey, my name's Greg. I heard this speech. Now I got the motivation. I could take the step forward and go get help. So good on you. Good on you.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
thank you. Yep, and on both of us.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's cool, man. I just had a meeting today, a big meeting today, with the local like news station out here. So we're trying to get on the news, trying to get advertisement and get all the word out here in Louisiana. So now things are going good. Let's see, a few more minutes here before I get to our last question. I just want to ask you about the books in the background. Tell me about both the books.
The first one, The Bell Tolls for Thee, I took an assignment in Djibouti,
Okay.
Camp Lemonnier, and it was in the Horn of Africa. And that was the first time in my operational that I actually saw Third World. I got to go to Ethiopia and to Kenya. And so I was there for a 4-month period, and it dawned on me, you know what? I've always wanted to write a book. So I sat down in that 4-month period and just told the story. The story of where it began from me, how it became with being a Navy SEAL, losing that, finding young people, and I told that storyline. This one here, that's special welfare, social warfare, adolescence to adulthood, a guidebook. 5 years ago, however you vote, it doesn't matter as long as you vote. I saw what was coming with President Trump getting a second go at being president. I had concerns for our young people because that's their story. I'm working with these young people that have issues, with global warming they're concerned about. They're concerned about how, the money is not accountable for, and their voice is not being heard. My generation is, taking up all the waves. I wrote that so that I could get a position to hold the light and then push everybody away except for the young people. And I've networked with them over the last 40 years so that if that happens, when that happens, I got access to sending out a blanket email of understanding what it is. Now that I got this, what do I do with it? To a bunch of young people who will help me understand how I could advocate for them. So the two books are the backstory of how I met them and the front story of me not finding it acceptable that their voice is not being heard.
Got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Good on you, man. Good on you.
Yeah.
Sweet. And where can people go follow you? Website, social media? Shout that out. Shout yourself out.
Yeah. My full name, Thomas J. LaGrave Jr., will take you to the website where everything that all of the various Meta and Instagram and Facebook, the icons are there. They'll direct you to my specific portfolio in each of those, along with how to get me if you want a speaker engagement. And if you want the books, there's buttons. You get to push buttons.
Oh yeah. Sweet. Yeah, I think as long as people find the website, which I'll drop in the podcast description to make it easier for our audience to find, and then obviously super easy from there to get connected to you.
Excellent.
Yeah. So the way that we wrap up our episodes is, as I mentioned before, our motto is one more is one less. Comes from season 1, episode 6, Army Combat Vet, where it's like, hey, one more person that we can get resources to, listen to a podcast, get connected to a fellow veteran brother or sister, feel like he or she is okay to reach out for help, could be one less suicide. So that stuck. So now what we do at the end of every episode is we ask our guests what one more is one less means to them. So you're up. You're in the hot seat. I'd love to hear what it means to you.
Give me the first part again. Is
one more is one less.
One more is one less. Yeah. Okay. So what does that mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
Saving the world is not realistic. When I do what I do it for the one.
Yeah.
I'm looking to just make the difference in one kid's life. So it's in that perspective, of that vein, one more, that my way of doing all that I do is based off of finding just the one person and making sure that I'm available to them in however I physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and present to them, for them, with them to make that difference.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, once again, I'm proud of you for everything, that your entire journey from the beginning, the drug use, the discharge, and now turning everything around and helping people out, writing books, being a resource, going and doing speaking engagements. Like, it's so cool to see our veteran community and to see veterans go through challenging times, which a lot of us do, but then to thrive after.
The other one too is I want to give a shout out to the VA. I've had the VA for 40 years and it's been an up and down, but right now they truly are trying to be there, especially for the suicide, especially for the vets that have now experienced war.
Yeah.
And what that all is. So if you have doubts about the VA, I'm here to say that they've saved my life on more than one occasion.
Awesome. Awesome. That's always good to hear, because a lot of the times we don't hear too many good things about it. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yep.
Sweet. All right, everybody. Well, this wraps up season 9, episode 8. This was a good one. This one will be dropping over the weekend. I'll have it live and everything, and then Tom, I'll send you the link. It'll be up on YouTube. We'll get everything all taken care of, and you can add that to your website, do whatever for advertisement and all those good things.
Excellent. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Cool. Of course. Thank you once again for your service, and everybody take care, and God bless America.